Okay, welcome back to Unveiled, episode 2.
Woohoo!
Thank you to everyone who listened to episode 1 and sent us DMs and feedback and emails and all the streams. Thank you so much. Like we said in the last podcast, and we'll probably say forever, this was a labor of love, 6 years in the making. And we are so happy that it is a reality and that people from apparently all over the world are listening. So it's very cool.
Can you hear all that feedback?
I can.
Okay, I'm just going to say a few things, and if it's shit, then we'll do it again.
Yeah, honestly, we got kicked out of our original recording space, so the sound in this episode might be a little wonky. There are fire trucks driving by currently. There's a drill in the background.
You know what? This is just the beginning. So just enjoy the chaos, and then eventually we'll be polished humans.
Yeah, it's like TMB Outback.
Are you going to tell everyone about the mentee bee you had about the first podcast going away forever?
Oh my gosh. Okay, yes. Before we get into episode 2, I last Friday went to go log in to see how many of you guys have been listening, because that's what I do on like an hourly basis. And all of a sudden, your account no longer exists. And I'm like, pardon? They're like, you need to pay for it. I'm like, all right, cool. Like the credit card didn't go through because Jess accidentally bought Taylor Swift tickets on her company card.
I don't regret it at all.
It's a write-off. It's on brand. So anyways, long story short, we got locked out of our account and the website or the podcast was just gone. And it literally just broke down into tears. It was not a good scene all weekend.
This was a learning experience for me, because if it goes, like, I don't know if everyone knows that, if you couldn't get it back, then we'd have to like restart. We could never use the same title.
Exactly.
It's gone forever. Like that one just exists. And then we have to completely start over. We can't add to that. And I was just like, oh wow, this is way more catastrophic than I thought. I was like, okay, mentee bee is on brand for this.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm stressed. Who are we emailing?
Yeah. So thankfully Sunday night at like 11:30, Dave from Red Circle emailed me back after I don't even think I was typing proper English. I think I sent upwards of 15 broken English emails to him, being like in all caps as well. Being like, we need the podcast back. Our business is dependent on it. And he got it back, and he's like, honestly, it's because you kept trying to use this credit card that clearly didn't have any money on it, and their back end just made it like a fraudulent and just shut down the whole account, which is great. Like that's really great for them that they have that good security.
But we're back.
We're back.
We're back with someone really exciting.
We have our first guest, which is Sandra Monaco, who is a wedding photographer. And before we get into her little intro, we just need to quickly talk about this being topical, because we both recently received our wedding photos back, and that's a roller coaster.
Yeah. It's like the sneak peeks that we got like almost immediately after. I got mine like the morning after, and you got yours like the day after. And it was just like, that's like the initial excitement. Then you wait for like weeks and weeks and weeks. And it's just like, and then you get it and you have this huge overwhelm of emotion. But I'm surprised I learned as much as I did about, for two humans who like work with wedding photographers and with galleries as much as we do. I think I probably would have changed some things about how I impress the importance of certain moments. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, there's just lots of learning. I was surprised. So I'm very excited to talk to Sandra today, because she's worked with us many times. Honestly, Sandra and the two of us, we have a time when we're together. So I'm very excited to have her here.
Absolutely. Okay, so Sandra is a wedding, lifestyle, and commercial branding photographer based in Kitchener-Waterloo and surrounding areas, self-proclaimed carb-obsessed, plant queen, personal development junkie, Prosecco lover. Sandra has worked with the Modern Bride on styled shoots, branding shoots, and so many exciting secret projects we have up our sleeves. So let's get into it.
Okay, cheers.
Okay, cheers, everyone.
Cheers. Welcome.
Sandra Monaco, welcome to Unveiled.
Thank you very much for having me.
Are you ready to lift the veil?
Let's go.
We're going to start really easy. This is your platform. What are the top 3 most important things you, as a wedding photographer, need your clients to know?
Okay, I've got more than 3 for sure, but I'll try and make it quick. First off, prepare for the rain. Just act like it's gonna happen, and then it's a bonus if it doesn't. Because if you go into your wedding day and you're like, everything's going to be bright and
sunny
and we're going
day.
to be on the field and it's a downpour,
Yeah.
you're going to be really upset, right? So if you kind of even envision some of like indoor backdrops just to already have an idea of what you're going to get into.
Some really beautiful rainy photos. Like I feel like if I got a really, really rainy day and at the ceremony, like I don't think I'm this human, but I want to be this human. Yeah. And then you just like are like having this like downpour and you're saying your vows. It's like so disgustingly romantic. Yes. And I would,
you're so not that
I'm
human.
not that human. I would
Neither
want
of
to be.
us
I would want to embrace it, the boho thing in me, but it doesn't exist. But I feel like the photo would be so beautiful, and then I go inside and be like, wow, I look like a drowned rat. That's
yeah,
great.
Yeah, because there's no coming back from it.
Yeah, you always got to have the rain plan. Like, think of your hairstyle as well. If your hair doesn't hold curls well, please don't put your hair down.
Yeah.
Because if it's a humid, rainy day, you can say, like, it's going to be over in an hour. Your hair's going to be done for.
Toast.
Or even if you have your hair up and you have a couple pieces in the front that are curled, that's the worst when it just goes straight and it's like wet. So I would even say to have like a backup blow dryer and curling iron with you just in case. Or like be prepared to have it in a style where you can actually pin that back if that happens.
There's always someone who's hair savvy in the wedding party. Like
agreed. Every friend group has the hairdresser.
Help me.
Yeah, for sure.
I've actually become the hairdresser.
Yes,
it's been 15 years, so at this point,
I love that for you.
Thank you.
Are these things that you've put together because you've produced photos that girls are unhappy with the way it came out because their bangs looked like the 80s, or because this happened, or is it because you're seeing it being like, I know this isn't your vision and now we're struggling to kind of do this?
Yeah, so I've never really had people come back to me and be like, I was so unhappy with my hair, I hate my photos. I'm actually very lucky to have people not say that. Yeah, right? Seriously. I haven't actually had complaints, so I'm pretty happy about that. But it's more so in the moment, right? So like, let's say we've got a great shot and the hair just kind of ruins that shot. So maybe they don't see that photo because I culled it out. Yeah. But it's just something to really be prepared for.
Okay, so we got rain, we got hair. What else do we got?
Actually, one other thing about the hair. So you asked how there ever one time where somebody complained about it. So it wasn't actually the bride who complained about it, but I sent the photos to the vendors. And one of the vendors called me and was like, why did her hair look like that?
Wait, was it the hair vendor?
No, it was actually, I don't even remember which vendor it was.
But it wasn't beauty.
But it wasn't a beauty vendor.
Pardon?
Yeah, they were looking at the photos and they're like, what is with her hair?
No,
and honestly, like, I looked at her hair and I'm like, you know, if that's your style. And I should have said something in the morning, right?
But what are you going to say?
Right? Well, she had one of those, I feel like it was like a bump it.
Yes.
Yeah. Could you see the bump it through it?
It wasn't even like the bump it through it. It was more so like her hair looked like it was huge.
Like a bouffant?
Like a helmet. Like, I still made it look good, and I actually went in there and retouched it so it got pulled nicely together.
You snatched her hair up.
I snatched her hair up. But in person, like, I kind of felt bad about it, and I don't want to make anybody feel any way on their wedding day. But that was a learning lesson, because the next wedding, the girl's hair was a frizz ball, and right away when I saw her, I'm like, we need to fix your hair. I'm sorry. Like, you're going to hate your photos. You're going to hate the rest of your day if we don't fix your hair now. So let's get it, like, fixed up. And I had the bridesmaids go in there, they redid the hair, and she was like, no, honestly, thank you so much. Yeah. So that was
you gotta do that.
You have to.
I don't know why girls go around being like, oh, my makeup sucks. Like, go fix it then. Yeah. If you're unhappy with the $275 you paid for that beauty experience, be like, can you just do something like this? And you have to be specific. Like, if you don't give them the opportunity to fix it, then they don't get that.
Yeah.
And tell your bridesmaids to be real with you. Like, if you don't look the best on your wedding day, have them tell you to fix your hair, or you know, go up and fix it for them. Kind of.
I'm like, oh, can we do something? And you're like, why? And I'm like, because it doesn't
is
look
that
good.
finished? Are you done?
That's a true friend right there.
Yeah.
And then moving on from the hairstyles, also with makeup, I have a bunch of brides who are always like, I want the most natural look. Like, this is too much makeup. I feel like it's too much. It's not too much.
No.
Period. I love that you said that.
Please let them put the makeup on that they need to, in a way. Like, yes, go for the look you're wanting, but if you feel like it's too much, it's not going to look too much in photos. If anything, especially if you have like that light and airy type of vibe photographer, you're going to look washed out.
So
if you feel like it's too dark, it's going to look perfect. And put some eyelashes on.
Yes. Yeah, but you need it for that definition, especially in photos.
Because you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, oh, my eyelashes look good like this with just mascara. And then you look at photos and you're like, where's the mascara? There's nothing on my face.
True.
Okay, so just to recap for our listeners here, we have prepare for rain, get your rain plan in order, make sure your hair can withstand the elements, and wear the makeup. What else do you need your people to know?
Yeah, back to the beginning of the day. Let's say the detail photos, be prepared with it. Give your photographer 20 to 30 minutes if you want those crazy flat lays with all the invitations and your shoes and this whole setup. If you want that, give them time. Don't
and also
expect
give
it to be
them
done in 10 minutes.
Everything.
Have everything ready in a shoebox. And the other thing I want to mention is first looks. Some people are very traditional and some people want to enjoy cocktail hour. That's basically the difference between first looks. I always get asked this question on my calls is I'll ask them do you plan to do a first look before the ceremony or do you want to do it after? And they'll ask me for my opinion. So here it is. First looks. So I highly recommend them because you can choose how long you want to photograph for. You're super freshened up. When you see your groom for the first time, you actually get to enjoy the moment together. You don't have 150 eyes on you and you're not thinking about how you look and not being able to embrace the moment. And then that way you do get to enjoy cocktail hours. And then if you do it the other way around, you just have to, be prepared that you're going to miss cocktail hour. Yeah. Especially if it's an hour and a half to 2 hours at most, you're just not going to get to it.
Okay, so I want to comment on this first look thing because this is always a debate, and then when I was a planner, that was a huge thing, and I always highly, highly recommend it. But Adele and I did not do first looks, and I have always hammered it to my clients, being because it makes everything so flexible time wise.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you want to tell why you didn't do a first look?
I didn't do a first look because I think when you said it's either tradition or cocktail hour. And for me, it was all about tradition. I don't find myself to be a very traditional human being, but for some reason, the first look and my dad walking me down the aisle were two massive things that I just couldn't, that meant the world to me. And then the second one was that my husband actually was I don't want that pressure to have a reaction. Because I know you, Adele, and you're going to be waiting for a reaction, and I don't know if I'm going to give it to you. And so...
You don't think I look great?
Yeah, that's what I would do. Remember when you said you didn't want me to pick this dress? Yeah, exactly. So that's why I didn't do it.
Yeah, I love the flexibility of it in the timeline, but go have a cough, do it. Yeah. But I really wanted, I had been in so many wedding dresses because of reels, because of media, whatever it was, that I really wanted that moment. If Colin and I did a first look, it would have just been obviously this is an over dramatic response, but it would have been just every other.
Yeah.
And the top of the aisle moment is different. I wanted it to be loaded like that. And it was.
Yeah. I will say, having worked on a timeline of being in a venue, I was definitely stressed, not on the day, but in the planning phase of being okay, is an hour and a half enough time to get every photo that I want if I don't do? So I think there was that pressure to be are you sure you don't want to do a first look? And even the venue asked me multiple times. Yeah. And I was and I really had to stick to it. But I knew that in the end I would be sacrificing things like candid photos at cocktail hour or, potentially not having all the photos that I wanted. But it's such a personal decision.
And the last thing that brides should know is that their wedding dress will get dirty.
Oh, thank you. It will be in tatters. It should be. If it isn't, then you didn't have a good time.
It's true.
Okay, so photography trend of the year. I want to talk about this because I feel last year, maybe 2022, was the year of the champagne tower. I'm going to call it that. When we look back in 5 to 10 years at 2023 wedding photos, what is going to be that iconic that was 2023?
It's a good question because I haven't noticed anything out of the ordinary recently other than a lot more nighttime photos. People are loving, and I know they've been around for a while, but this year especially, people are wanting the hotel room photos, the elevator photos. Yeah. So I would say maybe the elevator and hotel room, depending on
Perfect.
where
I'm
you're
a
getting married.
basic B.
Or like, or sorry, I guess you could say 2023 will be the white sunglasses at night.
Oh,
Everybody's loving the white sunglasses with the champagne. Or the other thing that I've been seeing on TikTok recently is one pair of glasses that have like the bride and groom's name on it and the date.
And then tick, tick, tick,
and then
yeah.
it just scrolls
So
through
cool.
with all of your guests wearing it. So I think that's really cool. And then, last year, Champagne Tower.
Which you should still do because it was really fun.
Jess doesn't want to be old news.
I don't know. For me, the only thing with that is if you only have one bottle of champagne,
it doesn't go with
you're
one.
filling two or three glasses. Just a heads up.
Yeah.
Like
You need at least two.
Yeah, I feel like that's the biggest misconception on the Champagne Towers is how much champagne
And
you
you
need.
can't make it a big one.
Yes.
A big champagne tower, you're never going to fill it and you're never going to drink it. So ours was only like 3 or 4 tiers and we used 3 bottles and that's all you need.
Yeah,
The effect
so
is there.
maybe both of you guys have a bottle, both of you pouring it, have fun with the shots, and then the rest just fill on their own. But you're not going to get a lot filled up from one bottle.
And it's also a giant mess. So
The worst is when they fall too. So just a heads up. Often. So be careful.
Amateurs.
that would be me. I would knock it over. Oh my gosh. Okay. How do you deal with couples' expectations versus reality?
Woo.
Okay. I'm sure Pinterest is like a love-hate thing.
Love-hate.
Yeah, everyone has a love-hate with Pinterest.
It's like Pinterest, I feel like at this point for me, every photo looks the same.
Yeah.
kind of thing. And it right away on my page, it says let's kind of leave the Pinterest board behind and let's make our own magic, right? Yeah. So sure, send me some of your ideas. I might have it in my head while we're shooting, but the last thing I'm going to do is take a 2-page printout of photo ideas from you and then refer back to it every time we move a different location.
Yeah.
Judging by the smiles,
Does that really happen? Does that really happen?
Sometimes, yeah. But I say no right off the bat. And if you do want to give me a Pinterest list or you want to send me your board or whatever, I'm going to tell you to give it to your maid of honor, who's going to also join us then for photos. And anytime she sees fit, she can bring that up to us and kind of show us. If I have it in my head, because I will look at it and I will keep it in mind of what you want, because of course, at the end of the day, this is your wedding. I'm going to try and deliver. But if we're constantly referring back to that, then you're going to probably get way less photos because when we're going with the flow, things are just moving through and I'm getting all these different angles, far away, close up, etc. Now imagine constantly stopping, looking at your phone, then trying to, show them the phone, this is the pose that we're going to put you into. And then everything just looks very Barbie, very stiff.
Staged. And I think for sure. And I think that photographers are artists in their own right, and having that artistic integrity and ownership over a photo opposed to just copying what you've seen.
Yeah. And you also don't look like the person in the photograph. You won't have the same background. Your lighting is going to be different. My editing is different. Yeah. So at the end of the day, you're trying to emulate this image that is probably not going to look the same anyway, and you might even be upset with what you got from it, to be honest.
I think Pinterest, I didn't have a Pinterest board before, and you're you need to start making a Pinterest board, and I was like, okay. And that
was to rein in the ideas.
It was true. And that's exactly what it did. I was I love Pinterest for the inspiration, and it did help me rein in and hone and funnel some of the things. So having that little this is my inspo, and then this is my vibe. Yeah. Can you just do?
And the expectation versus reality. The other thing too is the editing style. Like I mentioned before, don't expect something completely different than what the photographer shows you. Yeah. Or what you see on their website. Just kind of have that as your expectation. And once again, it all depends on the weather outside and what's happening. So it's better to leave your expectations at the door going into your wedding. Go with the flow, enjoy it. Everybody says it goes by so fast. It does.
It does.
So don't stress on the day of there's certain things don't look so great and blah, blah, blah. I've had a bride stress about her flowers because she really hated the hue of the pink. That's something I can fix, right? So I let them know right away, just chill out about that. Don't stress about that. Enjoy this day. You spent so much money on it, right?
Yeah. You gotta let the little things go.
Yeah, no, for sure. I also just want to comment, I love the fact that you do not Photoshop people and you say that right openly. I think that's amazing. I think that goes towards the expectation versus reality, that you're going to look like yourself in these photos. And I'm sure that you have had people, and maybe that's why it's on your website, saying, oh, can you just like shrink my waist or move my arm or...
Really?
And well, the family and the bridesmaids don't know what I do, right? So right away they're like, oh, will you be able to take 30 pounds off me? And I'm like, no. So like I get it often. I get it often. And the other thing too is like destination weddings. If you are having a destination wedding, keep your sunglasses off your face until after your wedding.
Just because of like the sunburn?
It is so bad. Like the guys, every time, like right at the airport before we even get there, I'm like, please try to not wear your sunglasses throughout, because especially the guys,
it's always the guys.
Like imagine spending an extra 10 hours just to fix your
it's
like,
just you'd drive yourself insane. And as you said, self-proclaimed perfectionist. Like it would never be. And like where do you draw the line, right? Like, okay, I'll fix your sunburn or whatever, but you know, like I feel like that just snowballs
so
and on so many photos, but it like, you know, fixing a sunburn can turn into, you know, this and that on somebody's body or something.
Different story on blemishes though. Like
I was going to say,
thank you.
Are there things that you would fix?
100%. Blemishes, anything that's temporary. I'm not going to take out a mole unless like that's requested, because and if you have a pimple that looks like a mole, and like I zoom in and I analyze that, and sometimes I'll call my boyfriend over. I'm like, listen, does this look like a pimple or a mole?
Just
if
full
it
dermatologist.
Looks like a mole, I'm leaving it, because I don't want to change your face. I don't want you to get photos back, especially if you didn't request it. And all of a sudden it's like, it's not you. And like, let's say you love that beauty mark, right? And then all of a sudden it gets taken off. Not cool. So anything that looks temporary is getting removed, and I'm a professional.
Absolutely. And then when people get their photos back, it's funny, it's this like struggle, and I'm going to say this because I think I mentioned it in our intro to the podcast, but I sometimes wonder if I look at my wedding photos and Jess looks at her wedding photos differently than other people do, but I don't think they do. I'm like, we look at wedding galleries all day long of people, and I analyze photos all day long. And so when I'm looking at them and you notice that piece of hair, you're like, oh no. And like to us, it like is ruined. But then like, do some people just look at it and they're like,
I think I do look at my photos differently. Definitely. Yeah. I think that I'm surprised how much I've learned. Like I thought that I wasn't going to obviously I don't know everything.
Yeah. Oh, we know.
Let the record state that I think that I don't know everything, but I did think that there's a couple things, like we were saying, like I do wish there was more candidates of my bridesmaids and I do wish I spoke up on certain things, but I didn't expect that I would feel that way. I thought that I was versed enough to understand and have my expectations and the product align, which they did for the most part, but there are things that I'm like, I do wish that maybe I had asked this. Oh, I do wish I maybe had done this.
It's also in the moment too. Like honestly, by the end of the day, you guys are so stressed out. You've probably been up since 5 a.m. getting makeup done. Like I even tell my couples when we're on the call, like your sunset's at this time on that day. If everything's good, I'm going to pull you out for photos. Yeah. But just know you guys may be too tired or we're not going to get a sunset. So just have the expectation. And then if you wanted to go out maybe after dinner, do some straight on flash photos instead and make it more like fun and moody, we can always do that too.
Would you, as the photographer, is it your style to be like, hey, the sun setting, or hey, you changed your dress, do you want things? If maybe it was like a secret, so she didn't want to reveal it before because her and her fiance were in all the meetings together, would you as a photographer take that initiative?
Always. We always go up to them like, hey, the sun is setting, did you want to go now for it? Or, did you want to go and take some more portraits? And, one of them will say no, usually the groom. And then the bride will kind of be like, okay, we're just going to eat. And then I give them the look and I'm like, are you sure? Yeah. Like you can't have this
TikTok. This is the moment. Yeah. It's passing by immediately.
We can even go out for just 10 minutes, take a few shots. You guys can come in, up to you. And then most of the times they're like, okay, let's go.
Yeah. My gosh. Okay.
Here we go.
So every episode we have somebody ask us a question via DM, email, however you guys want to talk to us. And we're going to answer it today. So the question is, and I'm just going to say, I'm going to answer it first because I feel like you two are going to be on the same page and I'm on the opposite page. All right. And that's just I don't know, maybe we're all on the same page. Okay. So the question is, do I have to have my sister-in-law that I can't stand in my wedding if I'm having my other sister-in-law that I love? So in the wedding, meaning wedding party.
So that's you being like, I have 2 sisters-in-law, like one, love one, can't stand the other. Do I have to have them both as maids?
Yeah, as maids. So in the wedding party. So my thought is, and this is actually, I had 2 of my 3 sister-in-laws in my wedding party. But my thought, so I'm going totally against what I'm saying here. But my thought is, I say, yes, you put them in. And this comes from the thought that I actually got this advice from a friend who got it told to her. And then just when I got engaged, she's like, oh, by the way, like I got this piece of advice and I just want to pass it to every bride. And she's just like, when you're choosing your wedding party and you're like debating between people, she said, like, is it going to create more drama for you if that person's in the party or if that person's not included in the wedding party? And you have to answer that question. And if it's going to cause you more drama to not have that person in there, just suck it up and put the person in there. So my thought is to this person, have both sister-in-laws in there. If you think that your one sister-in-law that you can't stand is going to make this awkward or make it awful
in other
for
parts
you.
Of your life.
Yeah.
I'm going to say no.
I knew it.
Absolutely not. And you know what? If it's going to cause drama, don't have any of them in it. Because the last thing you want to do is look at all your wedding photos and have to remember her face all the time if you really have a bad relationship together.
That's a good point.
You might as well have everybody out, have a smaller wedding party, have the people that you grew up with, best friends, whatever, your own sisters. Yeah. And yeah, if one of them is going to cause drama, keep both of them out. Because it's easier for you too.
Short and sweet.
I love it, yeah. The people pleaser in me is hiding under the table right now.
I'm going to kind of go with both. It wasn't intended. I've never even heard this question, but I think that I really struggled with my bridal party because, like you said, you could go smaller, and I was like, I could either go real small or it has to include everyone, and Adele can know that it included everyone. Because I do have, 1, way too many friends, and 2, this like hard time not being inclusive necessarily, but if there's like certain people that come as a package. That was a problem for me. It was like, if I go with these really small groups and then I just do this one person, then that's 3 other people kind of thing. So for me, it wasn't stressful for the bridal party because once I decided I wanted 8 and I was the 9th, that anyone who had anything to say about it, I was like, you don't have to be in it. First of all, no one in the group said anything about it.
No.
But 2, like when people are like, oh my God, that's so many. I was like, yeah, it is. What else? Like, it's like, you just have to own it. So
Really?
if you decide to not include that person, which I agree, if you have a bad enough relationship, don't include that person because...
And they're going to ruin your day.
Yes.
Like, especially if they have attitude.
But they'll probably ruin your day anyway.
Yeah, but at least they're not with you the whole time.
The 24/7.
Yes.
Right?
day,
Like, especially during photos.
Or
like,
making it uncomfortable people for the other people in the party. I agree. If your relationship is bad enough, but I do also like that person's advice. Like, if it depends, I guess, how toxic they really are.
It is.
If they're still going to be at the wedding, then maybe having them in the bridal party is the lesser evil. But if they're going to not be, if you can say no to the party and the wedding, like bridal party and wedding, then maybe you're getting off scot-free.
If I can give
Night.
That's really cutthroat.
If I could give you one tip from a photographer's perspective,
yes.
less is better for wedding parties.
Yeah.
So if you're kind of debating, do I have a bigger wedding party or a smaller one? I suggest a smaller one for your own sanity.
Yeah.
Not for photos. Like, you know, have up to 8, 10, whatever you want to do. If you want those really cool wedding party photos, if you have those like girl gangs that are like 8 to 10 people and you have to have all of them, okay. Yeah. If you have the option to have less, especially for morning getting ready.
It's a lot of moving parts.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so that is a wrap. We still don't have an official sign-off. So if you can think of anything on the spot right now, Sandra. No, nothing.
What
We're going to get it.
Say in the beginning?
Are you ready to lift the veil? What do you want to put the veil back down? I don't know. That's weird. It's not good. Take my job from me, someone.
It's time to go to sleep.
Yeah. All right, that's episode 2.
Night.
Night.